No, I didn't know that.
He's never actually moved out of Floyd. He lives in the.
Good afternoon and welcome to our first meeting of June. We have a lot of people in council chambers, and hopefully we've got just as many people watching us on Electric City Television. I will lead us in invocation tonight in respect to the flags will be given by Councilman John Roberts. Please rise. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon our community. We ask for several things. We ask that you keep our employees who are facing forward in our community to take care of our citizens, that you keep them safe and away from harm. We ask for the larger community to have your healing hand upon them as we still fight through the COVID pandemic, and people, although most have gotten shots, the threat is still out there, so we ask that you keep everyone safe there. We ask that you allow this policy-making board to make good and sound decisions based on the way that you would want us to treat others. And we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the minutes of our May 24th meeting have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Not hearing any, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Mr. Newton, second by Mr. John Roberts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of May 24th pass unanimously. Have a couple items of old business, and the first item is request second reading of ordinance 2107, rezone 312 Step Street from LI, which is light industrial, to GC general commercial. Mr. McEwen.
Mr. Mayor and Council, being that these items are old business to bring before you, I'll ask Mr. Maurice McKenzie, our Plan Development Director, to come up and go over each item with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This item came before you at your May 24th meeting, and you approved it on first reading. There has been no new information submitted to us, but let's give you a brief recap of what this request is all about. The applicant of 312 Sayre Street, which is what many of you know as the old McLeese Garage. They currently operate a vehicle restoration and customizing business, also a muffler shop, and as part of their development plan, they want to sell automobiles. But with the property being LI light industrial, auto sales is not allowed in that zoning classification. So they're requesting an appropriate zoning to allow auto sales and also the rest of their existing business. And that would be GC general commercial. So this would be a downzoning. This would eliminate the opportunity for more intensive land uses if we downzone it in this manner. Again, you heard this at your May 24th meeting and you approved it on first reading. The staff and planning commission also recommended approval.
Thank you, sir. We did have a few questions in regards to this at our last meeting. Are there any other questions, comments?
Motion we approve.
First by Mr. John Roberts, second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. It passes unanimously on the second reading. The next item is request consideration of an ordinance to annex and zone to a PDD, a planned development district, approximately 50 acres located at the corner of Midway Road and Crescent Road. Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The applicant, I'm trying to pull up the map here. It'll give us a minute, but the applicant requests to annex the subject property in order to construct a single-family residential subdivision. And 50 acres that we're talking about is actually comprised of 3 smaller parcels, which makes up 50 acres. and it'll pop up on your screen in a moment, but it's at the corner of Crestview and Midway Road. And along with this, the requested annexation and zoning is PDD, Planned Development District. And with the PDD, Planned Development District, that requires a document that outlines details that are created specifically for this particular piece of property. So all the development standards, zoning, setbacks, density, things of that nature are outlined in the PDD document. Now, in order for, and actually in your packet that was mailed to you last week, the original PDD document was included in that, and that was also the original document that was considered by the Planning Commission on June 1st. And in that document, that density was up to 200 houses in the development with a minimum lot size of 6,500 square feet. It also had other details, as you saw in the document, but those were the key pieces: 200 houses, 6,500 square feet. But since the Planning Commission public hearing on June 1st, the applicant heard some concerns and also talked to city representatives, and they have been working on making some revisions to improve the PDD document. And that was recently submitted to us, and actually on your desk today, I passed around the revised PDD document. You'll see it's the one that says June 14th on it. And in that document, that's what they're proposing now. So we can go over anything specifically you wish in that document, but I will hit on the key highlights of the most significant changes in this revised PDD document as compared to the original. Like I said earlier, the original PDD document had a maximum of 200 lots in it. They're now proposing 159 lots, which is roughly a 20% reduction in the number of lots, so 200 to 159. The minimum lot sizes, originally it was 6,500 square feet. They're now requesting 7,800 square feet minimum lot sizes, so that's an increase of 1,300 square feet for minimum lot sizes, so 6,500 to 7,800 square feet. One other element they're adding into the document, they're wanting to create a variety of lot sizes, create a diversity in the lot layout and the look of the subdivision. So they're proposing that 25% of the lots will be over 11,000 square feet, which equates to about 40 lots. And 20% of the lots will be between 8,500 and 11,000 square feet, which is about 32 lots. And then the remainder of the lots, up to 87, my calculations, will be between 7,800 and 8,500 square feet. So basically, 20% of the lots will be over 11,000 square feet, 25% of the lots will be between 8,500 and 11,000 square feet, and then the remaining around 87 lots will be between 7,800 and 8,500 square feet. Also, some elements are adding into the PDD document for the internal development of the subdivision in order to minimize long stretches of lots and dwellings, street or green space at intervals at approximately 10 lots will be incorporated into the subdivision plan just to break up the monotony of many lots strung together. In the original plan, sidewalks were not included in the document. They are adding the inclusion of sidewalks into the subdivision. And in strategic locations throughout the subdivision, they're planning to create some landscape medians to help A, with aesthetics, and B, for traffic calming within the subdivision. And they also are proposing to include into the document left and right turn lanes out onto Midway Road for ingress and egress. And also, they are looking to construct the entrance to the subdivision as far away as possible from the Midway and Crestview intersection. Now, in the other document, there were some elements that you were interested in, and they carried this over to the proposed document that you see in front of you now. 4 off-street parking spaces will be available per house, the 2 being in the garage, and a minimum of 20 feet setback from the sidewalk to ensure that there is no overhang onto the sidewalk if the streets are required. Also, house sizes will range between 1,500 and 4,000 square feet, 3 to 5 bedrooms, and all lots are required to have 2 trees planted when the lots are built, one being closer to the front sidewalk to create more of a street tree effect throughout the subdivision. So those are elements inside the PDD document that really changed and were carried over. Now, including those items, as with any PDD, we require a 10% open space requirement, so that is also included in the document. And keep in mind, too, that earlier this year, you amended the zoning ordinance for house construction and aesthetics to require that all houses throughout the city are built with finished floor elevation, a minimum of 12 inches of adjacent grade. So basically, no slab-on-grade houses. This would apply for this development as well. There's been a lot of concern about traffic in the area, and because of these existing traffic issues and growing concern for increased traffic demand in the area, Harriet Circle and Midway Crestview intersection, they've been identified as a future need for future road improvements in the area. Our Anderson Area Transportation Study Policy Committee, ANATS, they included this in their long-range plan about 10 years ago. And now, fast forwarding the federal funds, the preliminary work is actually starting to take place now. And unless you have any questions for me, I'll turn this over to Mike Gay, our transportation planner, who can give us more detail about the specific DOT plans that we have as of now. He can talk about timing, he can talk about data regarding existing conditions, and what it will look like in the future once these road improvements are made.
Good, let's take a pause here. We've heard some new information on just the PDD, but are there any questions, comments in regards to that information?
I'll save my comments.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Gay.
Thank you. If I can get there we go. Got your screen back, we're ready to go. Crestview and Midway. Just to refresh your memory here, currently what we've got, two intersections are very close together. We've got Midway Elementary here, Crestview Road, Midway Road, and Harriet Circle and Midway Road. Big issues that were identified. We have a preliminary plan that DOT is moving forward with. They are currently designing this for future construction. It's going to be a four-leg roundabout here at Crestview and Midway. Harriet Circle will be relocated from where it is here in the red to where it is here. A three-leg roundabout will be constructed, removing the intersection about 900 feet south of where it currently sits, which that alone will clear up a ton of issues. And then this will be abandoned and no longer be a road. So, what I'd like to talk to you now about is the traffic study that went along with this. Why did we pick this type of design? Why do we think it's going to work? What are the effects going to be? So before we get started, and I get into kind of the nuts and bolts of this, I want to go over a couple of definitions with you. You're going to hear me talk about AM peak, which is your morning rush hour. In this case, that was from between 7 and 9 a.m. Stands to reason, right? School traffic. And we're going to talk about PM peak, which is your evening rush hour. This was between 2 and 6, the highest hour of traffic and congestion. That's what they measured in this study. Delay, we're going to talk about that. I don't really want you to focus on this. Delay is in seconds, but this is just there for me to show you scale as we move through this. And we're going to talk about no build conditions. This is what would this look like if we did nothing? If we just left it the way it is? Shows us need. I want you to pay special attention to this. We're going to talk a lot about level of service. Okay? It's like a report card. A's, great. That means your traffic is flowing nice. You don't have to worry about it. B, traffic's still flowing good. You may have to brake a couple of times, but you're fine. C is stable flow. That's good. That's kind of like a lot of peak hours end up being C's because, you're going to have a little bit more traffic in your peak hours. That's still great. Still moving fine. Once you get to D, if you see a D, you're approaching unstable flow. That means, hey, we got a problem. There's a problem probably coming. You get to E, you're at capacity. You're braking all the time. Not good. You get to F, and it's a gridlock, traffic jam, stuff you just do not want to see. So, if we look at the Midway Road and Crestview Road intersection, we'll start with that one. Our existing conditions. So the guys that did the study went out and they measured, they counted traffic, looked at turning movements, they did all this stuff. And right now, our AM peak is an F out here. With the delay, an average delay of 65 seconds or something. Our PM peak is a D. Now we know we've got a problem. So we know there's an issue. But how bad would it be if we did nothing? So what they do here is they do a linear regression. I won't bore you with the details, but if you're looking at it, 2022, that's where their base year was for this, for their projections. We're still at an F in the AM. But look at 2042 with growth factored in. We're at an F that's 5 times worse than we are now. So we know we've got an AM problem. How about the PM? Oh, it's just as bad, if not worse. F, both. In 2022, currently, or for the base year projection, and F in 2042. Bad news. So what's the roundabout going to do? Well, we've got some projections. If I could snap my fingers and put it out there in 2022, we would be an A in this intersection. In 2042, with growth projected, it's a C. A little bit of a slowdown, but if you notice, it's 9 seconds longer to get through the intersection, would give you that C rating. Still good, still moving. For our PMP on this intersection, 2022, snap my fingers and put it down there. Or actually, this was 2022, PMP, good. 7 seconds. 2042, B. 14 seconds, not a big deal. We're still in the green. Everybody's moving great. Let's move on down to Midway Road and Harriet Circle. Now remember, we're relocating Harriet Circle, which is going to solve a lot of problems. We're also adding a roundabout. So currently, it's a C across the board. You think, hey, that's not that bad. But let's look at what happens when we look at 2022. Okay, if I could, no build conditions. If we do nothing, it's a C, right? But look at 2042. Look how bad it gets. It goes from, if you can't read it in the audience, it goes from 24 seconds to get through the intersection in the morning to 299 seconds with growth factored in. If we leave Harriet Circle in its current location, and same thing with the the PM conditions. If we look at no build, we don't do anything in the afternoon, it goes from 25 seconds to get through it to 447 seconds. So this is why we've done our best to get these intersections as far apart as possible to give everybody time to move through them. If we look at 2022 and to 2042 roundabout impact, A's across the board. If I could snap my fingers in 2022, 6 seconds to get through, 2042 with the growth, 9 seconds. So that means this is projected to work very well. Would like to, this study was done by a civil engineering group hired by the DOT and funded by the Anderson Area Transportation Study. Current schedule, we're in preliminary engineering right now. So they're working on the design plans for this. We're hoping to go to right-of-way and sometime in fiscal year 2022, and then we hope to start construction in fiscal year 2023. And I will take any questions you have. I know I gave you a lot. I hope I made it digestible.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this 2023, when you start construction, is that going to be on just one or both of these?
This is both. This is being led as one project because we see it as independently. If we just did one, we still have a problem. So we have to do them both at the same time.
What's going to happen to that piece of property that now is a road that would be, will that be graded or what?
That will be up to the DOT. I'm not sure what they will do with this
That's
break piece.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they will do with that. I don't know if they'll negotiate with the developer. They can, I think the DOT is still allowed to hold it. Again, that will be a question for the state at the time that the project is finished.
Any other questions? Can always come back. Great.
I have one just.
Chapman?
The 2023 construction, based on, I mean, those are 12-month years, so.
Yes.
Are we expecting that to be constructed the early part of 2023, the latter part, the middle part?
At this point, we don't know. We're just, at this point, we're shooting for, and again, all this could change. But we're looking at 2023 right now. I spoke to our project managers late last week, and these were the numbers that he gave.
Preliminary engineering is to be completed when?
We're hoping 2022, the next fiscal year. I mean, it's just, again, I hate that I can't be more specific and give you dates, but we simply don't have them right now. They are working on it now, and, hopefully we'll have something in the next year.
How close were they to the, Mr. Chapman? How close were we on the timeline on the Brown Road? Can you,
Right.
that an unfair question?
From other roundabouts that we've done, what is are they exactly a year apart, or are they?
It just depends on what they run into when they do the preliminary engineering. I mean, do we have to move a lot of utilities? There are 2 creek crossings. They have to design those. They have to make sure that all of the drainage works right. I couldn't tell you.
We
Let me
understand.
ask it a different way. How about, when would they be able to provide a schedule that would tell us their approximation of when the schedule would be for construction?
At the completion of preliminary engineering.
And that will be completed
Hopefully in the next,
approximately when?
hopefully in the next year.
Within the next 12 months or within the next?
12 months.
All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
No, you're
Mr. Roberts, Jeff?
Mr. Gay, the projected growth in this area reflected in these numbers, the report card numbers, or letter grades,
Yes, sir.
level of service, they're projected out to 2042 for the growth in that area. This is not exclusively growth of this proposed annexation. It's beyond the general area. Is that correct?
2019 as an independently of any of this. There is build out in these numbers. So we're expecting, they were aware of the density coming when they did this. So
Good. Anything else, guys? I think I'd like to just move on now to public comments. I know that you folks are here today to lend your voice to this particular agenda item. I did watch the replay of the planning commission, so I would expect that our council would get similar questions, and we want to hear it. And so what I would ask is that you would come to the podium to tell us who you are, your address only, name, address, and just your public comments about this property. So I don't know if there's a spokesperson or if it flows like that, but I'll open it up to discussion.
My name is James Pringle. I live at 306 Autumn Lane, Belton, and it's 29627. The problem I see with all this, and these studies they have with these roundabouts and everything, they're saying there's future growth for 2023, 2024, and 2042. That doesn't take into account, I don't believe it's taken into account for all these homes that are going to be built right there that have already, I guess, been passed where they can build. There's going to be supposedly 400 homes. Just in an average neighborhood, an average house has 2 cars, just average. So that's another 800 cars just for that one side of the neighborhood that they're going to build, not including this K Creek or whatever they're going to call it. And then you're getting another 159 homes. So you're talking another 318 cars. Just basically what's there right now. That's just when kids are, they have young kids, they start getting older, they start driving, and they're going to have more cars. And the future growth. And not one person, not from the planning commission or anything, has mentioned the 3 springs that are on that property. The developers never mentioned it. There's 3 springs on that property. Where's that water going to go? How's that going to, you're going to move springs around? I don't know how you can. I don't have a degree in geology, but I certainly know you can't move a spring. It comes out of the ground. And then all the extra runoff that's going to be accumulated by the roads in there, where's that going to go? There's a gentleman that lives across the road that has a dairy farm, or not a dairy farm, he has a cattle farm. Where's that going? That's directly going to affect his farm. And nobody thinks about that. Everybody wants growth, 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 increase taxes, increase this, increase that, but it's not going anywhere. So why isn't anybody speaking up about these small questions? Why isn't anybody asking these small questions on any of these councils? Would anybody like to answer that?
Well, we want to hear what you're saying.
Well,
So-
I'm asking for an answer on that.
Well, sir, I am a civil engineer, and I
Okay.
can talk to you about the runoff.
Okay,
The post-runoff cannot exceed the pre-runoff.
okay,
It's held back in detention systems.
okay.
And if there are springs, there are methods to pipe and drain springs. And that'll be up to the engineers to decide.
Okay, so on those springs, there's springs that run across the piece of property that run over to Walkmall that fill that pond right there. So that's gonna be diverted, so all that is now gonna be changed?
Well, I
For those
can't,
people that live over there that bought land that have, water access.
it will have to be addressed. It's not being ignored. It can't be ignored. The drainage will be in a engineered, designed.
Sir, I get that, but what about the roads and everything like that? What about the farm that's across the street? What about that guy?
Same thing, the roads have to provide for their runoff, and that's on DOT. And they'll design detention for those road systems. And their pipes will be sized accordingly.
And according to this gentleman's statistics on these roundabouts, in so many seconds to get through them, I live a little further up on Midway. I don't know if you know where Autumn Lane's at, but to go through there now, it does take a few minutes. All the added traffic that would come through with all those homes that are going to be built, it's going to be a nightmare through there, roundabout or not. It's going to be a nightmare. And
We just don't think it's going to be as bad as you think it's going to be.
well,
I mean, that's our personal opinion.
Well-
And I respect your opinion.
and I appreciate that you do, but people avoid certain places and they don't go to them because of the roundabouts. I know people that won't go on Brown Road anymore because of that, because they've been hit. Because not everybody knows how to enter and exit a roundabout.
I understand.
People will sit there for a few seconds and they go and then they get hit.
There's a learning curve.
Yes, there is. There's a very big learning curve. And if you don't grow up with them, I mean, it's,
That's true.
so I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Sarah Crocker, and I live at 505 Autumn Lane. So there are numerous things that I could talk about in terms of my concerns about this, but I'll just focus on my children and my role as a mother. So my third grader, soon to be fourth grader, is at Midway Elementary right now, and her classrooms have been at capacity since kindergarten. She has 23 students in her class. I've been in her classroom. There's not a lot of room to navigate. In my professional life, I'm a professor at Clemson University, and lots of my colleagues in the College of Education can provide plenty of research that shows that ideal learning situations for small children in elementary school are not ideal when you have so many students packed into the classroom. And so my primary concern is we have these 600 houses coming, 2 kids per house, where are they going to go to school? Obviously, they're going to go to Midway. They're going to be zoned at Midway. They're going to be zoned at Glenview. And then ultimately, I assume Hannah. And I'm just concerned for how it might impact our elementary schools and potentially overwhelm the schools that we have. I also have a 3-year-old, so I'm in this for the long haul. I got another kid coming down the pipeline. So this is going to be important to me for several years. In addition to that, I would just ask for maybe I appreciate the concessions or the revisions mentioned. Thank you for that to the developer, but also the density still really concerns me in the keeping with the kind of essence that we have out there. I've lived in this area most of my life. I chose to stay there as an adult because I liked the area. So the incoming density really does concern me. I think, if you were to stand in Midway Presbyterian Church parking lot right now and just imagine 600 additional homes, that is suffocating. That's overwhelming, and it's not in keeping with the neighborhood. So, I feel like there has to be some sort of common sense compromise between nothing, which we have on these, wide open green spaces right now, and 600. I don't see why we have to go, why the density has to be so compact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now, I would say before the next speaker comes up, obviously, this council, from an education point of view, I think we've seen our school district over the last 2 decades react to growth. And I would assume our city manager is in contact with their superintendent in regards to city schools. And I would be assured that, kid safety and grandkids are important to us too, so I appreciate that.
But if I may add, that's just to elaborate a little bit, it's that the school board typically determines future growth. When you say it's 600 homes, it's not 600 homes tomorrow. It's 600 homes really unknown because of the economic times with material prices as high. They won't be able to build them right now anyway. So that it may be 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 years from now before all those homes are built. But by then, the school board plans for those to have new schools to make sure that they can meet the capacity, because that's their responsibility. And our responsibility is to try to look at infrastructure and then development and how we can improve the development. So.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, John Pickerel, live at 425 Autumn Lane, also in Belton. And I'd like to...
Are you guys neighbors?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to actually move into a more macro level for you, and I think maybe I might touch on something. The United States is a constitutional republic based on federalism. The reason we have federalism is so that small states don't get overrun by New York, California, Illinois, with massive cities. We voted with our feet to live in these areas that have a rural feel, and I think everybody here is concerned, not necessarily with growth, but aggressive, unrestrained, and I would say reckless growth. And with our system of government, you are supposed to represent the people in your district. And all the people in these neighborhoods, I think, feel overwhelmed by the city, and they don't want the city encroaching, because within a 120-mile radius, we can live as Americans in Charlotte, Atlanta, or Greenville, or even Asheville. And if we wanted to live there, we would. We chose Anderson County and this part because of the field and the wide open spaces. I personally like living next to farmers, and I moved there on purpose. I plan to live out the rest of my life there. I don't want to live around 10,000 new homes in 40 years. So I think that I think it's important for you as our elected representatives to focus on the people that you represent and what they want. And I don't think anybody in this room would like it, you included, would like it if someone in another city on high or another larger state dictated what they thought was better, not what the constituents wanted. So I think I would just ask that you consider that more often in every decision you make. Thank you.
Thank you. We actually have two coming at one time, maybe this gentleman and then this gentleman right here. Go ahead, sir.
Hi. My name is Craig Boyles. I live on 129 Alicia Drive, which is the semicircle inside of Harriet Circle. And I made a list of 4 items. I'll start at number 4. You annexed Lennar 1 and 2, 40 somehow, I think it's 44 houses across the street from me in that third circle inside of, or the second circle inside of Harriet Circle, and built that out, and then went beside us and moved a bunch of dirt chopped down trees and planted houses, 240 some. And the problem is, ever since she built it out, the builders and developers left, there's been no maintenance. Roads haven't been maintained, as I said the last time I spoke. And further, the sediment ponds, I've called the city several times and asked if they come do something with the sediment ponds. I think the worst one is one at the corner of Midway Elementary. Nothing has ever been done to it, and there's even trees growing out of it. Several, probably 20, 25 feet tall. But the sediment ponds too at the end of at each end of our street, grown up, just walked down there last night. It's a mosquito haven, and we've lived in that house there for 23 years this August, and have never seen a snake. And this summer we've caught 5 snakes in our property. So I guess with new development, you grow snakes or something. That, which says you're not maintaining it. Nobody came down that Alicia Drive. It's half, last time I called the city and the county, it's half city and half county road, but nobody came down it and mowed it last year. And of course, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt since that was a pandemic, but nobody's coming down there this year, and it's now the middle of June, and the weeds are about as tall as I am. And it's a mess. So if you annex, maybe you could put something in the budget and consider maintenance. Now, I know you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the city doesn't do any maintenance. They have no maintenance crew. They divvy it out to the county. So I think, like we said the last week.
We don't have any maintenance crew?
Right.
Like grass crew?
Specific to Alicia Drive.
So Alicia Drive or just overall?
Overall.
Oh, no.
Well, you come pick up debris and stuff.
No, we cut a lot of grass, we plant flowers, beautiful.
I would argue we have one larger than the county.
Yeah.
First 10 years, that was Anderson County mowing came down there and down Midway Road, but I hadn't seen anything.
Now, keep in mind, that would be the county. Right?
I was told 4 years ago that was half of Alicia Drive. Inside half was county, outside half was city.
I can't picture the road, maybe.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's a state road.
Yep.
Probably. We'll check on that, but, I mean, those are addressable problems.
Those sediment ponds are West Nile and snake pits, and nobody's maintaining those, and you're gonna add more mosquito, you add more mosquito pits on Martin Trail, on the other side of Harriet Circle, and now you're talking about adding several out there. You'd have to for a track build. So,
I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
See people writing, so I vote so.
I would comment, if you have a problem with sediment ponds or mosquitoes, the city will come out and put tablets in the sediment ponds at request. But usually the citizens will call our Public Works Department, and they'll set that up and put you on a schedule to put them out, during the breeding times.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Gould. I live at 608 Pine Hollow Drive, Oakmont subdivision. Just a few comments. It's on the road building. I think it's been long overdue. Something needed to be done with Harriet Circle. That's a parking lot from Midway all the way to Old Westminster at school time. Harriet Circle is a parking lot prior to school letting out in the afternoons. And it's not, you're still going to have a parking lot, so if you don't have an extra lane or so for cars to pull over to the side, it's still going to be a parking lot. But you do need the circle, you do need to rearrange Harriet Circle. Another issue, as far as PDAs are concerned, you built PDA, allowed a PDA to be built right next to us. It was a pine forest. and hardwood trees. They plowed, they cut down every bit of those trees. They said they were gonna put a buffer zone. All it is a mountain of dirt. They put a few little shrubs there. Some died. Weeds came up. And along the road, they kept the weeds down. But that hill, that dirt hill, to the sides of the houses where Oakmont lives are 6-foot weeds that infest the rest of the neighborhood with, whether it be dandelions or saltbush or other weeds that come on. So once you put in a PDA, you just sort of wash your hands of it. There's no enforcement, no follow-up, no accountability on the HOA or the developer. So that's my concern about PDAs. I'm sure there's other examples. The other part is why so much high-density planning in a section of the county that's not even in the city of Anderson yet? You're still talking about whether to annex it or not. Why the growth? Why are you expanding the growth further and further out when you have major sections of Anderson, the north side, east side, west side, that are underdeveloped or poorly developed, that you already have resources, you have the infrastructure in place to handle it, but instead you go out and grab additional land and get more housing. You need affordable housing. And you're probably talking about $200,000 homes there. Wouldn't that be better if it was within the city limits already? When you start putting 200 more houses out there, that's just greed on the part of the developer, and that's greed on the part of the city to go after things before you clean up your house beforehand. You've got major problems within the city already that you should be putting your resources in, rather than grabbing outside. And so those are my concerns. Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to live with a country setting such as this. Development will come, but you can look at some of the developments, cut down all the trees, build up houses. It's not farmland. It's not pretty. It's not rural. You don't even have sidewalks going to Midway Elementary. You know, you put all these kids in, you're going to bus them all in? Or are you going to have mothers and fathers carry the kids to school every day? Why aren't you putting in sidewalks and take care of the people who are already there? Why are you putting so much traffic on roads? So those are my major concerns. Didn't come here for answers. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Norm Leffman. I live at 104 Raspberry Lane. My wife Cheryl and I just moved from California. The reason we moved from California is we want to live in an area that is more desirable. For us, that means a lower cost of living. It means an area in which the housing is less dense, people more friendly. I think we found that area. We love it here. So I was quite surprised when I heard about what was planned for this area. I was quite surprised because the density that's planned is completely inconsistent with the surrounding areas. As was mentioned by the previous speaker, there are other areas of Anderson in which there is greater, higher density. So if you think about that, who's going to react more? If I lived in a high-density area and there were more homes put in that area, I'm not going to get affected by that because I chose to live in a higher density area. Now, if I live in an area that's not as dense, of course, you're going to have a reaction by the people that live in that area. When I look out in the audience right now, you see what I see. You see empty seats. Because not everybody who wanted to come to this meeting could. People out here at the front door have said this space is full. My wife is standing out there. She was told she could not come in the room here because there's no seating left. Do you see that? I don't. people are taking this as an issue because it affects them. It affects you in a different way. You have a responsibility as elected officials to govern, to make decisions regarding use of land. We all understand that. That's a very important responsibility. But when you think about that role, you want to execute it fairly. And that's my point I want to make, is that fair execution of your responsibilities and uses of land means you need to consider the property owners that are in that area. You need to do what you can do to treat them as fairly and as equitably as possible. And I'm telling you, based upon what I've heard tonight, even with the revisions in the density, you're not treating the residents in that area fairly at all. So I would say reconsider your density plans, and number two, allow others to be part of this conversation, because they're outside right now and they're not being allowed in.
Good afternoon, Mayor Roberts and Council. I'm Cindy Wilson, County Council District 7 representative. And as you well know, District 7 did not come very close to the city of Anderson. My district covers the north side of Crestview Road, goes down 81, up 85, takes in Pelzer, West Pelzer, Williamston, goes around Belton, takes in Honeypath, Path, jags back across the country. So I serve 4 municipalities. I'm very concerned about the situation because our county, since 2009, with the new council that came in, worked really hard trying to straighten out the poor finances of our county and create a great desire for economic development in our county. We missed the greatest boom of my lifetime in 07, 08 until now. There was very little. Do you know that by our teamwork, working with y'all, working with our municipalities, working with our colleges and education institutions, everybody, we included everybody at the table, we were able to straighten the county out. We have greater transparency, accountability, and guess what? Our county came out of the Great Recession one of the top 7 in the nation, according to the Wall Street Journal. And that happened because of teamwork. It couldn't have happened any other way. You know what my predecessors were like. There is an answer to some of this, and just to give you a quick rundown of what our county has worked with our city council on in the most recent past. Our county council can approve fee in lieu of taxes, and we did that for you at your request on a hotel project downtown and a resident development downtown. You requested, we delivered. We fund a lot of 501c3s that are domiciled here in town, creating services for people in need. We went with a $2.9 million grant to shared it with our municipalities to clean up dilapidated houses. That's had a very positive outcome. More recently, Councilman Roberts and Mayor Roberts, who's also in the Appalachian Council of Governments, and I have worked together in collaboration to address the Highway 29 corridor. Mr. Francis Crowder, one of the previous county council members, discovered that with the Cherokee Road bridge situation that was supposed to have been rebuilt and a lot of dependent improvements, in 2006 it disappeared. But he found a pot of money. So with Councilman Roberts' collaboration, he and I worked together, and Mayor Roberts and all the mayors and state representatives, many city council members, and county council members on the east side and north side of the county requested that we be put into the freight mobility study. All of you know that while Highway 29 was the prototype for Interstate 85, it's very obsolete, and we really needed 4-lane through the city limits to the south side of town, we've got all kinds of industries down there that would benefit. That is now included thanks to Mayor Roberts and Councilman Roberts' help. So we have a lot of things that we work on together that create great improvements. Now, addressing the situation right now, 21 years ago, our county embarked on what the state mandated in 5-year cycles, the county's comprehensive land use map and plan, based on community input. We went to every community all around the county. The municipalities are supposed to be involved in that too. This specific area that's in question tonight, there were hundreds of people that showed up at various meetings, and they all decreed, including the gentleman who passed away recently who owned it, that they wanted that area agricultural residential. It's zoned R20, which means that if you don't have sewer, you need 25,000 square feet for a lot, which would be almost 2 lots per acre. If you have sewer, you can put 2 dwellings per acre. The immediate surroundings are farms and large lots, much larger than even R20. And this was accomplished with the comprehensive land use mapping and planning sessions. These sessions will begin again soon. I doubt that my constituents who live in that area are going to want to change. I am requesting as respectfully as possible, since I've gotten a lot of anguished citizens calling me who worked really hard to zone that area. And it's been in place for more than 20 years now. I request that we work in collaboration with the community and come up with something that's more in keeping with what that neighborhood is. I know it took me 20 years of taking the district engineer around Midway Road to finally get it resurfaced and the shelters redone. And we were begging for improvements at the intersection near the schools. It sounds like ANATS finally has that on their radar. But with the situation in our county of having more than 2,000 lots already approved and going through the permitting process already permitted, we've got at least 3,000 more that are in the pipeline, not counting what we have here. So we need to be mindful of those issues, how it impacts our county. If we're really wanting quality of life, and we want people to have open areas where they can have children to go play and walk to school perhaps, then we need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Help him.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
It's just water.
I understand. I hope so. Thank you, and that was a holistic range of information that you gave us, and hopefully, I think I've heard a lot, and I'm going to hear this gentleman here, and hopefully he has something maybe a little different as far as the take on the conversation tonight. But after that, I'd like to open it up for us to talk about it in front of you. So go ahead, sir.
My name is Dennis James. I live at 1015 L Street. I taught at Anderson University, I taught at Hannah, and I taught at Crescent High School. In every educational institution I've taught in, the classrooms that I've taught in are already full. When I went to Hannah, it was the first year that Hannah was in operation. And Mike Sam showed me my classroom still had a dirt floor. I was told the next year that when it was built and opened, the Hannah was too small. And we've seen that with the new additions behind the school. I think the elementary school on 81 is a 2-story building, but I think only the bottom floor is being used right now, is that right? So they're planning for that extra growth. And it seems to me that my average class at Hannah was 30 students in the classroom. My average at Anderson University was about 20, 22. It seems that no matter what we build or when we build it, the growth exceeds the capacity or the capabilities of whatever that institution is. And my concern is, respectfully, I heard you, Mayor Roberts, say that in answer to one speaker's estimate of traffic patterns, that you didn't think so, wouldn't be that heavy. And I wonder why you think that.
Oh, that's a question as far as
Yes.
the traffic patterns?
Yes, in other words, they're thinking about the flow of traffic and the increase in
I
traffic.
think,
But you said, we don't think so.
Well, I've seen it happen, and I can remember, and I think Don and John Roberts can weigh in on this, where the ANAX committee proposed the East-West Parkway. And it was the worst thing that it could ever have public comments. You know, I had people say, it's just going to ruin our county. And we went to great lengths to make sure that there were not a lot of curb cuts, development, and I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but those same people say it was the best thing we ever did. And so we're not here, we're thinking about things, and we're policymakers, and so we're thinking about the future. And the whole idea of the roundabouts, I just truly believe I've seen it. And so, does anybody, Don, do you want to say something?
Yeah, that was one of the other things, because I remember we had packed rooms with people that were highly against the East-West Connector, but through that discussion and through the discussion with the ANATs and the input from the constituents, you know, that's why they're all lined with trees. That's why there's a grass median and a treescape through the middle of it. There's no, I think it's limited to 5 curb cuts.
The walking path.
Walking path.
Afterthought. I mean, we didn't even plan on it.
And it came so successfully that now we're extending it because people want it to be longer, to be able to connect with the neighborhoods, to be able to, you know, connect to the other side. So I think we hear a lot of what your concerns are, and that's part of what we've done to try to help improve the development. There's another development over there by Hannah, and that was one of the things that I was going to say, that, you know, developers tend to develop around areas of need, and typically families want to live near schools, and they're highly they're good schools that people want to be near, so that there's developers want to take in property that is close to those schools. So it's about the need, and then trying to create a different need, because there's different price points of homes for people to want. And so it's not that we're grabbing property. The developers are bringing property to us, because we don't develop property. We make it a point not to go into other than our housing in some of the blighted areas. There's programs that allows us to do infill housing, but we don't go out and get these pieces of property. The developer purchases them, figures out a way that they can develop some kind of product that will be sellable, and then as a city body, we try to see what we can do to improve that, to make it a better product. Because at the end of the day, everybody up here on the council, they want it to be a nice product, so that it represents the city well, if it becomes part of the city.
I'm an avid cyclist, and Midway Road is one of my favorite places to go because it's beautiful and it's rural.
But one of the
And
most
I
dangerous.
appreciate Parkway too, I ride on that. But I don't think you can do with Midway Road what you've done with Parkway.
No, and I'm not saying you can. That was a new road that was built.
Right. So my
anyway,
concern is,
I hope I answered your question.
You did.
I just do. I mean, and I could be wrong.
but
But
in my
I don't think
profession, I've seen the population does nothing but get larger. And I think when you adding that many homes on both sides of the road, that's going to be awfully hard to manage. I'm just wondering, in 900 feet, how many cars back up in that space between your two roundabouts and peak rush hour, E and E, or F? So those are my concerns, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I thank you for everything you're doing for us here today.
Sorry for the delay. I'm a little bit old. My name is B.C. McConnell. I live at 3502 Midway Road. That is the property that abuts the K property for a long, long line down toward the creek. The developer, Mr. Jeffcoat, is one of my best friends. It pains me to have to come and speak against a development that he wants to do. The gentleman here said the city is not in the development business.
Development of residential properties.
I think the conception, and that's what I want to speak about today, is that the city is in the development business, whether you all want to accept that fact or not. You are. I attended the meeting the other day for this, and I left here with a lot of troubling feelings. And I think it's best that I condense those feelings into one word, and that is what? It is conception. My conception of what is going on here has created troubles for me. I would like very much to see you folks prove me wrong, to tell you that my thoughts are misconceptions. From what I heard the other evening and from what I have heard tonight, you haven't convinced me that you are interested in anything that any of these people have to say. One example, at the very beginning of last week's or the week before, or whenever it was, young Mr. Pickens, who was chairing the committee at the time, said, "Now don't you all get up here and repeat things you've already said. We don't want to hear it said twice." I don't know how much Mr. Pickens reads, but I would like to suggest that maybe he get him a copy of the Constitution and read the First Amendment. These people have the same privilege to come and repeat exactly what I'm trying to say or what anybody else has tried to say without any restrictions. But what my conception was is that Mr. Pickens really didn't want to be here that night. So don't you all say anything and repeat it so I have to stay a few minutes longer. There was a gentleman that sat over on this side of podium or whatever you call your place and tried to blame it on the school district. The Bronson Ridge property wouldn't have been here if the school district had stepped up when this land was available to be bought. Had it been done, we wouldn't have to be here arguing about this stuff. That was a little bit of twisted logic in my view, that he felt that it was the fault of the school district for not purchasing the land before the Jeffco's did. Why is that? Prove to me that that is a misconception. Everything I've heard tonight from the speakers who have been very eloquent have been met with answers from you all that proves that you're in bed with the developers and this is going on. Here is a bunch of baloney. You cannot explain. Excuse me, sir.
Mr. McCollum.
Excuse me, sir.
No, it's our meeting, okay?
I know it's your meeting, but it's my time to talk.
But it's
so you let me talk.
But you're pointing at people, you know, that's not the proper.
Okay, I apologize. I apologize.
And that's the only thing I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, can we?
I'll try to do better.
Thank you.
Even you, Mr. Mayor, weren't able to answer with any assurance one of the questions you were asked.
Which one, Ms. McCollum?
Just accept the fact that that's my conception. You proved me wrong, please.
Okay.
I don't begrudge anyone making money. Anyone who has a service that is legitimate and honest, or a product that's good and useful, more power to him. Let him make all the money he wants. But do you have to accept a project that steps on the toes and the feelings of a whole community to allow? Do not let yourself be led into the development business. There has obviously been a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, everybody getting together, because all the planning and the graphs that we have seen didn't just appear overnight. There have been obviously a lot of cooperation with the city. I understand the gentleman who spoke last time was a city employee. Why was he the one explaining what the project was going to look like? Why do you, sir, step in and ask and say what the project's going to look like and what we're going to do for it? It seems to me that your minds have already been made up. And what it seems like, my conception is that the hearing is nothing but a farce. We could have 4,000 people come in and talk, and you guys are going to vote the same way that you already have decided to do. It's already cooked and the fork is in it. I think you need to look at your hearts, your minds, and give some thought to not creating the conception that the city is in the development business. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll turn it over to council comments. Mr. Roberts? Observations? Any questions?
A few comments, if I may. I've given this a lot of consideration, and I understand your perspective. How about now?
No.
How about now?
No. No. Put your mics on. I don't think you need the mics.
You need speakers in the back.
How about now?
That's better.
Yeah.
I have given this a lot of consideration, sir, and to all of you, and I understand your perspective. But I do want to make, if this goes forward, make it the best it can be. And I've got some thoughts on that. It is my hope and desire to change the way we develop our development standards. That is my hope and desire. And I have put forth some of my own ideas. Not always do the thinking or the alignment of what our objectives are align with a developer's objectives. We want to build communities and neighborhoods. We want them to be safe, livable, affordable, etc. A developer, on the other hand, is trying to build and sell a product. So those don't always align. So I hear what you're saying. We want to build communities that work and become assets of the city. Some of the things that I want you to consider in your own mind, what makes a neighborhood desirable? And then in your own mind, just go through the things, the characteristics of a neighborhood that make it desirable. And I will tell you right now that it's not always density. I live in an area where there are a mix of high density and then larger estate type homes, a good mix. And if I had to put just one word on that, just what characteristics make a desirable neighborhood, and I would say it's a variety. You got little homes, you got big homes, and you've got setbacks that vary. You got big lots, you have small lots. So it can work if it's done correctly. And I have proposed in the changes that the developer brought back, this revised PDD document, a tiered system of lot sizes and graduated setbacks and a number of other things. So I am trying, and I hear you, and I want it to be done to the very best that it can be done, and I want it to be a desirable neighborhood. We're proposing also not just tiered lot sizes and graduated setbacks, but groupings of homes. And then in a group, then there's a separation, and then maybe another group. So I don't want to see the cookie cutter style of row after row of houses. Also proposing some ideas to, we call it traffic calming, but slow traffic. And whether that's through curvature of roads or medians or some manner, but create some interest and some slowing of the traffic. That's a very important part. One of my characteristics of when I think about my own neighborhood are the large, beautiful, ancient trees. And some of these developments are void of those type trees. So, you know, those things take some time. You can plant a 6-inch caliber tree, but it's going to take decades for it to get any size. And in the case of this property, you're basically working with a hayfield. There may be a few big trees up around the house up there, but that's about it. So we've encouraged the developer to get creative. Just a moment.
May I say something, sir?
Mr. McConnell, and I respect that, but would you let Mr. Roberts finish first? Would that be okay? Can you hold your thought? Can you hold your thought?
I can hold my thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have to keep an eye on affordability. We are a growing county, thanks to Ms. Wilson and her council. And we have to also take a step back and a bigger view of what our role is in this growth. And part of that is to have affordable housing. Not everybody can afford a mansion.
No.
And when you start bringing in this industry, they have to have a place to work, or live. They have to have schools, etc. So it's not just I want everybody to take a step back from the intersection of Crestview and Midway and just take a bit bigger look at what's going on in Anderson County. But it is a delicate balancing act. Bring in manufacturing, you got to have housing, and it's got to be affordable. Now, I'll end with this. I am truly trying to help make this better, and I'm offering up these ideas in that spirit.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr.
Your thoughts? Guys, anything? Done?
So, a lot of what Jeff has said, or Mr. Roberts has said, that we both met trying to figure out different ways together with the developer, collectively together, just he and I, along with trying to, him being a civil engineer, me being an architect, trying to come up with a product that we can have as a standard that will be the new standard for the city of Anderson for future development. To the point that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we passed that we don't allow slab construction anymore in the city of Anderson. I think we're the first in the state to do that. So we require that it has to be elevated 12 inches, which would require usually a curtain wall or some other foundation to bring the house off the ground. That's something that was unheard of, but we proposed it and it got passed. So now, future-wise, in the city of Anderson, you cannot build a slab on the ground. But if you look at multiple projects that have been built recently and that are being built in the county, you can still do that. So that's one kind of improvement that we're looking at. The other is landscaping. Jeff touched on that, and the mayor touched on it, that like with the East Coast Connector, we tried to landscape and make sure that that was all landscaped through there. And that was a county-city effort. That was a collective effort to try to make that happen, rather than just having a 4-lane road go through there with nothing. And the older it gets, the bigger the trees get, the nicer it looks. Same thing with this. Jeff is proposing that we do major street trees, and other ideas for the development that they're required to do based on if we approve it or not. And I guess lastly, I take a little bit of offense. I mean, I've got thick skin. I can handle it. But I mean, I think everybody on this council, I've been on it for 12 years, or 14 years now, 12 years. And so I don't think I've ever come up here and said 100%, I already know my decision when I come up here. I don't think anybody up here is. If I have, I've never seen it. I just know that when I come up, one way or another, we either have to make a motion to move it forward, make a motion to deny it, or make a motion to table it and talk about it more. But I don't think any of us have ever just come up here and said, 100%, I've got my decision made up. And for me, I take pride in that I try to listen to what the constituents are saying, but the constituents generally that I'm trying to listen to are the ones that actually are in the district. I know that after this is, if it's accepted or not, it would become part of that district. But at the end of the day, we try to make the best decision based on what's going to be best for the community as a whole and what's looking down the line 20 years from now. That's what the ANATS committee, part of their responsibility is. So, I mean, with that, I think we've not given the developer a chance to speak. I don't know if Mr. Jeff Coke wants to speak. Yes, I do. Okay, so
before we do that, Mr. McConnell, you don't have to come down. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I appreciate that. As city council persons, you all have fiduciary responsibilities as well.
All day long. Yes, sir.
Do you know the cost of the construction of a roundabout?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You do?
Yes, sir.
Have you calculated then the amount of years it will take for the taxes you will gather from these new homes to pay for 2 roundabouts up there?
So,
If I may, unless David would like to, that's part of the ANATS committee, which is the state funds. That study went into effect 10 years ago, Mike.
They're actually.
So it's not coming, those funds aren't coming from the city of Anderson's budget. Those are funds that are already in place, set up through the DOT. Mike, correct me.
They're
for the
actually
full.
federal funds from the federal transportation bill that are funneled through the DOT and then handed out to certain designated areas, those designated areas. So there is no city money going into this and no county money going into it.
Our taxes are definitely going into it, without a doubt.
Mr. Jeff Cooper?
Yes, sir.
I know how these people feel about this development. I know well because it happened to me 5 or 6 years ago. The land in front of my house was rezoned, and I thought that was pretty bad. Then they came in and built a Walmart as a crow flies 100 feet, 100 yards from my house, 2 blocks by road. This land is in the path of progress. It is going to be developed. Whether we develop it, somebody from Houston or Atlanta develops it, it will be developed. Whether this council approves it or not, it will be developed. It's in the path of progress. We cannot stop progress. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pat Cross, and I live at 308 Oliveri Drive. Mr. Jeff Code, I agree with you 100% that the property will be developed. And I don't think anyone here wants to stand in the way of development. It's the type of development that we're concerned about. And yes, density is important. We're talking about a large amount of homes in that area, and it's going to impact our schools, our traffic, and just the community, the feel of the community, as our friend from a recent transfer from California told us. So it's not that we're against that. And I'm not against the roundabouts. Something needs to be done about traffic, so that's no opposition. But you're changing the feel, you're changing our community, and we want you to develop it in such a way that it does not do that. Thank you.
Thank you. We can't hear you. No, ma'am. And more than anything, ma'am, I mean, people watching this on TV, so they can't hear you if you're not at a mic. Oops.
My name is Nora Eaton. I live at 304 Autumn Lane, Belton. It's in Hampton Acres. We started out, it was 2-acre lots. It was one acre that was, it was 1 3/4 acres because they had to change the road where it was coming in. It was unsafe and a curve. So we started out with 2 acres. Then we bought 1 3/4 acres, and then we bought 5. So we almost have 9 acres now in Hampton Acres. We bought there because we love the area. It's one of the nicest areas in Anderson County. And I'm not just saying that. I think if you drive out through there, you would know that. What I'm saying is, we, as county residents in that area district, we voted for it to be residential agricultural. Okay, we thought that would be the way it was. I do not understand. I know the city has the power to take what it wants, but my question is, why can't it be 2-acre lots at least? That would make it such a nicer area. Do something a little bit more than what you're doing, because we live out in the country, and now it's getting so populated. that I don't feel like I'm in the country anymore, and I certainly don't want to move somewhere else at this time. But why not put a little more acreage to it? That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking that you change, something. The people sold the land, Mr. Kay's land, and I understand they want to make money. I understand the developer wants to make money. But do something a little bit better for our area, like maybe 2 acres. That would be my proposal. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
My name is Lucia Gilreath, and I've been a neighbor of Mr. Kay for 53 years. So our property comes right behind his. And so one thing I wanted to address, it's strange. We've lived there so long, we have 10 acres, and we've just sold our property to our son and his wife, and they're so excited with their 2 boys to be out there. But the problem is, where Mr. Kay's land comes in, we are now building a new house for the first time at our lives on the edge of the property, which backs up exactly to where this neighborhood is going to be. And my real concern is where the retention pond is going to be, because the way it looks, I don't know, I'm not a developer, but I'm afraid it's going to be right there behind where our houses are, where our land was. And if it is, I know there's the problem that's already been talked about, mosquitoes and things like that. But we've raised our family there, and as many of us have already spoken to it, we love where we live, and I do understand that there's going to be development, but I do hope that you would maybe consider having it less dense. And especially, I would consider where this retention pond is going to be and how it's going to affect all the neighbors that are directly behind it. So I would appreciate you considering. Thank you.
My name's Joe Drennan. I live at 106 Raspberry Lane, and like Dr. McConnell, I'm good friends with Mr. Jeff Coat and all. Certainly appreciate the concessions that they have made on that. I think that's very encouraging. And in fairness, I think they are getting a lot of the flack that from the Crest Creek project that was just recently put in with 400 homes out there. Mr. Chapman, I would ask a question. With elevated slabs, tiered construction, did that pertain also to Crest Creek?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A lot of it has been talked about turnabouts. I'm still not convinced that that's the best scenario with 2 roundabouts being in such close proximity to the schools. Ingress and egress to TL Hanna and Glenview doesn't seem to be as big a problem as it does Midway. The gentleman from Oakmont neighborhood a while ago has a legitimate concern that when picking up or dropping off, I've done that for the last 7 years with my grandchildren, traffic backs up onto Harriet Circle. And as you've got those 2 roundabouts in such close proximity, I'm worried that traffic is going to back up cars parking on Harriet Circle for pickup or drop off. A lot has been said about the ingress and egress from coming in from the county, but not going out Oakmont into Oak Hill. There's 4-way stop sign there that you can hardly make a right turn when you pick up the children to turn onto Oak Hill to go over to 81 North, particularly if you're in a truck or a vehicle like that. That traffic backs up also. I have not seen anything in the state's proposal that addresses that side of the school. And that is almost as alarming as the other side coming in for the traffic circles or from the roundabouts from a 4 and 3-phase thing. So I do encourage you, if this moves forward or if you make that decision, get with the highway department, because we're only addressing one side of the traffic issue at Midway. That's a 2-sided coin all day long as you come back into the city because of that 4-way stop sign and the traffic that does back up past that 4-way stop sign sometimes with people coming this way from the city out to Midway Elementary instead of from coming, as of right now, from the county inside. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Do we have any other discussion up here?
Mr. Mayor, in light of a lot of the discussion that's been made and a lot of the comments that have been made, I would like to table it to have further discussions with the constituents as well as the developer.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Chapman, a second by Dr. Thompson. Further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's tabled. We'll move on to the next item. Guys can leave if you want to. Go home and eat dinner. We're gonna move on with the meeting, okay? Be careful. Get out of here. First item of new business is request consideration of an ordinance adopting the budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022. Mr. McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. The request before you is for the prepared and adopted budget for fiscal year 21 to 2022. In accordance with the general statutes of South Carolina, the City Council is required to adopt an annual balanced budget by ordinance prior to July 1st. The city's budget serves several functions. One is the policy document coming from City Council. It's a planning document that describes the city's priorities and plans, which is tied to our strategic plan and also our multi-year capital plan. It's a 6-month process with the entire city leadership team working closely with our finance staff. We start really in early December and work all the way up until now to present the items to you. And of course, we've had numerous discussions regarding the budget. For the last 15 years, the city has been recognized for the Distinguished Budget Award, and I wanted to point that out. It shows the transparency, the high financial responsibility and reporting that the city does. It does it as the highest level. There's not many in the state that do that. You can see our budget book has numerous information in it, from demographics to supplemental info. That's all not required. Simply required is just a statement of your revenue and expenses. We go beyond measure to show the transparency and to show the highest level of financial reporting. And by doing so, we have received for 15 years in a row the Distinguished Budget Award by the Government Finance Officers Association. So with that, and introducing the budget and this year's budget, I'm going to ask Mario Martin, our Chief Financial Officer and Finance Director, to go over the details of it.
Okay.
Mario.
Is it? Yeah, it's on. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So we are requesting adopting the ordinance for the 21-22 budget. The total budget is $83,476,044. The general fund budget request is $34,968,426, and that represents 42% of the city's entire budget. Our special revenue funds, which represent 22% of our budget, these are the revenues that are earmarked for specific purposes such as hospitality fee, capital replacement fee, cemetery fund, A-tax, et cetera. That's $18,799,248. And then the remaining part of our budget, 36%, are our enterprise funds, and these are your self-supporting funds such as your utilities and transit system. To review some of the highlights in the budget document, we did have a public hearing at 5 o'clock today prior to the council meeting, and nobody from the public attended. The budget does maintain its current millage of 116 mills. The value of a mill is $110,483. As a reminder, the TIF program ended in April of 21, and the city's portion of the TIF taxes are now included in the general fund, $375,000. There are no reduction in services for our citizens. While there is not a health insurance premium increase for our employees, the city itself does have a 2.6 increase effective 1/1/22, and that is reflected in this proposed budget. The budget also includes a 3% COLA. As a reminder, the city did not issue a COLA last year due to the uncertainty of COVID and its possible effects on the budget. This budget includes monies for capital, including the construction of the shared kitchen, capital lease proceeds for purchase of 4 garbage trucks and other equipment, and money set aside for purchase for property for Fire Station 4. This budget also includes the issuance of special obligation bonds, which are pledged with the hospitality fees for construction of Phase 3 of the recreation complex. The budget also includes 2 new FTE positions in public safety, 1 for a dedicated officer for the recreation center, and 1 for a fire rescue coordinator. The budget also includes reestablishment of items delayed last year due to the unknown impact of COVID. The housing demolition program of $100,000 in addition to the CDBG monies. Implementation of a community-wide comprehensive plan for $100,000 and $100,000 added back for the business assistance program. The budget reflects the implementation of the sanitation fee rate path that was delayed last year due to COVID to $4.50 per garbage cart serviced. The budget also reflects the implementation of year 4 of the 5-year adopted rate path for utilities with 6% for water and 3.5% for sewer. An average water increase will be $1.70 per month, and an average sewer increase will be $1.56 per month based on 800 cubic feet or 6,000 gallons. So the city staff is recommending approval of first reading of ordinance 2111, adopting the budget for the year ending June 30, 2022, for a total of $476,044.
Thank you. We, again, had a lot of detailed discussions with Ms. Martin and her team at our retreat. Are there any questions or?
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed, I want to thank y'all, all of y'all.
Oh, yes, my team is
Especially
here.
for your projections last year, and how everything was handled, and our budget will reflect it, that they did a phenomenal job. We've seen it, and all the department heads, staff, administration, I think it was come out of what we did, an unknown, unprecedented pandemic, and to have budgeted so appropriately and then still been on track. I think that says a lot for us and this team, not for us, not for the 9 of us, but everyone down here. All of y'all, every one of you. I thank y'all.
Thank you.
We were fiscally responsible.
Thank you.
And to be so just own it.
Mr. Chapman?
I have one question. How many years does this make that the city of Anderson has not raised taxes? With the exception of the one where we dropped the millage 2 mills. How many years is this?
At least 12, if not more. I don't have that in front of me right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think that's an important.
It's actually been reduced several times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
With the exception of the reductions, we've not increased our millage. And I think that's an important testament because part of it is because of we've had unprecedented growth, which has helped, it helps divide the money, which, for the services that allows for better services and continued services. So I just want to make that point that.
Yeah, and just to mention too, a little bit about the point you're making. Part of our budget, a good large portion of our budget is made out of from gross receipts coming from businesses, which is directly affected to disposable income of people living in the city of Anderson and Anderson County, shopping in our commercial districts all throughout the city. And it shows as industry increases here and as we have more jobs, more high-paying jobs, we see a direct reflection of that. And you have greater sales at the businesses because there's more disposable income. People are doing better. They're making more money. They're able to provide more for their family and buy different products and so forth. And that directly reflects within our budget too, because a portion of that is taxed and taken into account. So that's outside of our millage rate that's imposed on personal and real property. So just wanted to elaborate on that just a bit.
Well, and I just want to echo John's. I mean, y'all did a fantastic job because honestly, we rely on y'all to prepare us for what you think the projections are going to be. And y'all did a phenomenal job on that, as John said. So.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Thompson.
I agree with Don and John. And even though we have not raised millage, we have raised our water rates and our sewer and other things are necessary. So even though, we are looking at our citizens not raise the millage, they're still paying extra for things that are necessary. In our city, we're paying sewer, paying the water rates, stormwater, all of that has been raised some, but that was necessary.
If I may add, I just want to, and I agree wholeheartedly, because at the end of the day, people are impacted in multiple ways. But if Jeff were here, he would probably tell you that a lot of those fees that we had to increase were due to unfunded mandates that were passed down from the state and the federal guidelines. Is that not correct?
I said that was.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, I didn't. Is that not?
Yeah,
not the case.
No, I did say necessary.
Yes, that's right. Well,
That was
I'm saying
necessary.
that's the reason why it was necessary.
Yeah, but we had to do that. But I appreciate the fact that we did not raise the millage.
Any other comments, questions?
Mayor, I have one quick question for Mr. McEwen. At what annual growth rate should we be expecting to maintain no tax increase, the same level of services? Because the budget's going to increase yearly, but what increase in revenue should we expect to cover that? Are we in the 2-3%?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
The model has
we always project conservatively about 2% growth in the property and real
just
property and real taxes, but we're seeing that increase, and particularly with among the commercial properties that grow due to the additions coming to the city. I mean, that's the most significant right there, and then the residential growth as well as a tax base. But we also have additional services we provide to it at a higher level service than what's provided in the county. So it's a balance. We have a good balance between. We're fortunate that we're an economic engine with self-identity of being really a regional city, not a suburb of another city. We're a regional city, and so we have our own local economy, and it's very balanced, which is healthy for us.
So we could, off of a 2% growth, we could maintain our current services at the same.
Yeah, we're projected, as you know, another item in this budget is purchasing more garbage trucks. Of course, building Station 4. We have good coverage now from fire. We're the top-ranked fire department in the United States, Class 1. We're the only one in Anderson County that is a Class 1, fully paid professional fire department. And so we're perfectly capable to provide services, police, fire, sanitation, et cetera.
Any other questions? Thank you. Not hearing, do we have a motion to approve on the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. John Roberts, the second by Mr. Newton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously on the first reading.
Thank you, and I would like to thank my team for staying tonight.
Good job, Margo.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Good job.
Y'all have to stay to the end. I'm just teasing. If we have to stay, y'all. Next item is request consideration of an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of special obligation bonds, the hospitality fee pledge of the city of Anderson. Mr. Cuman.
So this item before you really sets up the next item. It's the framework that provides the city the ability to issue a special obligation bond, which is in B3. And so Margo can explain a little bit more detail on this, and then we can get into the next item, which is the actual issuance of the special obligation bond. Lauren.
Okay, so just as a reminder, City Council did pass the hospitality fee ordinance in 2001. The fee, is 2% on the gross proceeds derived from the sale of prepared meals and beverages. As of May 31, better than I talked to y'all earlier about, the city has collected $2,889,000 in hospitality fees. We're expecting to collect at least $250,000 for the month of June. But South Carolina Code does allow that the city can issue bonds and pledge revenues from hospitality fees as security. So this ordinance sets up the ability to do that. So this is called the General Bond Ordinance, and it provides the framework for any potential borrowing of what we call special obligation bonds from the city. So this ordinance will then allow the city to have like a supplemental 1, supplemental 2 as we incur projects. So by passing this ordinance, I can then bring to you item on B3 to actually borrow the real dollars.
Thank you.
We're requesting approval of the General Bond Ordinance.
Okay, segues into item 3. You have any comments, questions? Margo? Mayor? Tim?
What is the interest rate that we're getting on the?
I will get that with B3. If you could wait just 1 minute till I get to the next item.
I can wait.
This sets up the framework that allows us to borrow the money.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the next ordinance is where we're actually going to have real dollars.
Anything else, Jeff?
Mayor, I move we pass ordinance, general bond ordinance for the issuance of special obligation bonds.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Roberts, second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That leads us to item number 3, which is request consideration of an ordinance providing issuance and sale of the City of Anderson special obligation bond, hospitality fee pledge in a principal amount of not exceeding $7 million to defray the cost of certain tourist-related projects. Ms. Morton?
Oh, okay. So the city, has decided to go ahead with Phase 3 of the recreation complex, and the proceeds of the bond will be used to finance the design, construction, and equipping of the recreation complex, which will include bathrooms, concessions, the artificial multi-purpose fields, bleachers, parking lots, landscaping, and equipping for the maintenance thereof, park upgrade amenities, and equipment for various city parks, and the cost of the issuance. So the city can issue these special obligation bonds to fund these projects. The hospitality fees and the proceeds are used as collateral for this. The city will actually receive bids from the banks on June 28th in time for the second reading, but we are estimating annual debt for 15 years at 2.75% interest to be $583,435 a year.
Thank you.
So we are recommending approval on first reading for this supplemental ordinance.
And again, it's a good time to take advantage of the lower interest rates in the market before inflation occurs, and also that this is a multi-year project that's been planned for, so it's a good time to execute it.
I agree.
I have one statement. It's a statement. I talked to an investment counselor the other day, and this is a very wise move on the part of the city to get this interest rates low, because he's expecting interest rates to really go up in the next few months. So I'm proud of you guys getting the interest rates as low as we're getting them. I think that's wonderful.
We'll have the actual interest rate at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Anything else, guys?
I move we adopt.
Second.
We have a first by the Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously on the first reading. Our last item is request consideration of an ordinance authorizing the city of Anderson to execute and deliver an equipment lease purchase in the amount of not exceeding $1,650,000 between the city and the lessor. Therefore, to defer the cost of acquiring certain equipment. Ms. McEwen?
Yeah, so if you recall in our budget, we're buying public works equipment this year. What we do is we work in these lease purchases, and they, as one comes on, we roll it off. We usually issue another one. It's a good mechanism within the budget to buy expensive rolling stock, is what we call it, so garbage trucks, fire trucks, typically in that range, $100,000 or more. And so in this case, it's $1.6 million for 4 garbage trucks, a bucket truck, a flatbed truck, which pulls one of those trailers that you see coming in your neighborhoods to pick up debris, and a tractor loader, which actually picks it up and puts it in the trailer itself. So it's replacing and adding to our fleet. And so we'll get new modern garbage trucks, the sidearm. We're ahead of others in the state when the city council bought the current fleet that we have. And so this will be a new modernized version of that. And still, we'll keep the other ones operational as well. So we'll be in good shape. And moving forward with this, again, it's the lease purchase finance, and I'll have Ms. Martin describe to you the quick details of that.
Right, so it's a 5-year capital lease, and we are estimating a 1.5% interest rate for 5 years with annual debt service payments of $344,285. Again, we will be receiving those bank bids, RFPs back in time for the June 28th council meeting, so I have the exact interest. So this is our estimated debt service. So we're requesting first reading on this ordinance for the equipment lease.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I may be showing my ignorance. Why do we do a lease purchase agreement versus just buying?
We actually do just buy it. The financing part is called a capital lease, but really it's a 5-year loan.
Okay.
It's collateralized with that equipment, so that's why they call it a capital lease, but we own it.
Well, I did.
It's government terminology because we can't just do a loan for sake. So it's either a bond or, in this case, a lease purchase.
So we buy it and submit for reimbursement.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Are we adding any routes? Are these going to be replacement of, because didn't we buy 4 new ones like 4 years ago?
Right. So those will
5 years
actually,
ago.
some of those will go in spare, not running every day, and some of these will replace those, but they do have a lot of miles and a lot of time on them already. However, they're mechanically in good shape.
Right.
So it is planned that we can add a route. So we plan to do a route analysis, particularly as, it was mentioned earlier, that all these houses aren't going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
But obviously, we're planning ahead for that, and we're laser focused on building those services as needed. So.
Yeah, because I remember, I think we bought 4, but then used 2 of the newest, oldest ones.
Right.
They were 10 years old or better, and then so I guess those will go away completely. Are ones prior to the previous ones.
Right. There's old blue ones that you see.
Right. And then so that'll go away completely, and then the 4 will replace the new ones, and then the 4 previous ones will become replacements.
Right. And one of the things is, they go in for maintenance and, preventive maintenance, and that takes a day or so. We move them quick, but you need to be able to fill that in. So what's been filling that in is really old trucks, but now you'll be able to swap them in and out a little bit better on the preventive maintenance schedules.
Okay. Thank you.
In 4 years, have there been any kind of major improvements in the trucks?
Major improvements. The biggest thing is for the efficiency and safety is the arm. And again, coming from several different cities, I'll just really say, y'all did a great job of of getting ahead of that, because it became a real safety issue. A couple of sanitation drivers were actually accidentally run over during vacuuming operations from the motors. What happened in the city of Greenville, there was one not too far from us that happened in the town as well. And those are known accidents that happen. This limits that danger, provides a better work environment, but increases the efficiency, of course, as well with the sidearm. Simply just going out and grabbing the trash can, and we still man the trucks with 2 people, and that way one can get out and help clean up and so forth, and it helps out. Or if they need to back up and make it safe within a neighborhood, they can do that as well. So.
Okay. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to sanitation. I know I've had a couple instances where obviously you cover that many areas, you know, maybe a house gets skipped with either debris or garbage. I've never had an instance where I couldn't reach out to Mr. McEwen or Mr. Strickland and have that resolved, not even within the day, but usually within a couple hours. So I do want to thank both of y'all for just that quick response time, and also the sanitation department, because I know they work really hard to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just really say the sanitation department takes a lot of pride in it, and their level of service, and you know, they immediately jump on when that happens, and they just take a lot of pride in doing so.
Do a great job.
Good deal. Anything else? Good.
I make a motion we accept item B4 as presented.
Have a first by Mr. Chapman, second by Mr. Newton. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. That being the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. First by Mr. Newton, second by Mr. Roberts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.